Do you suffer with panic attacks, anxiety attacks? Is this something that you would like to get some relief from or maybe even eliminate? I'm not here to offer you any advice. I am going to share with you how I helped a client of mine to pretty much eliminate panic attacks from his life. First off, what is a panic attack? Well, we have some sensations in our body. We make a judgment about those sensations and then we enter a fight, flight, or freeze reaction to that bodily sensation that we're having. The first thing we should say about panic attacks is that they're not dangerous. They're simply the body's way of dealing with a particular circumstance that it finds itself in. There is no physiological threat. They might be embarrassing, they may interfere with what we want to do, they might be uncomfortable, but fundamentally they're not physically dangerous. So the question is, do you want to be fearful for the rest of your life of panic attacks, or do you want to free yourself from the fear of these? Do you want to drive to places, spend time on public transport, spend time with your loved ones, be able to handle high stress situations? So let me tell you about my experience with a client of mine that might help you to get relief from your anxiety or panic attacks. Let's call him Andrew. Andrew worked in a senior position in a very large firm, and his commute was a living nightmare. For 20 minutes he would have to ride on a subway, and very regularly he would experience panic attacks stuck in one of those carriages. I was working with him during the pandemic times, and it was actually a great relief to him that he was working from home because he'd been saved from having to do this commute. However, he was still experiencing anxiety attacks in other areas of his life, particularly when he was driving and sometimes with his daughter. Now, the first thing I did with Andrew was to have him re-presence those moments in those subway carriages and have him really yield to the feelings he was having sat in that seat. Feel into the anxiety, feel into the panic, and name the feelings. I feel scared. I feel terrified. I'm scared I'm going to die. I don't know how I'm going to get out of here. Just verbally expressing everything that was going on for him in those moments. Now, it didn't matter that we were doing this as a simulation, if you like, because we're just building the ability in the body to express feeling, to tune into the body, to tune into the sensations and simply be with what's there. And what we found is when he had subsequent incidents like this, he was able to be with the feelings, be with the sensations, name them. And by going into them, he was able to get relief from them. The way in is the way out. Now, for many people out there, simply developing that ability may give you great relief from anxiety attacks or panic attacks. With Andrew, we actually went a step further. We helped him regress into the earlier traumas in his life that were ultimately the source of these anxiety attacks. And the way we did that was ask a couple of simple questions. When you're in that anxiety attack, is this familiar? Yes, to Andrew it was familiar. When did you first feel something like this? And after some probing, we got to a couple of experiences. The first was when he was windsurfing in a lake. He fell off the board into the water. And as he was trying to resurface, he got trapped under the sail. And for a period of time, he was unable to get out from under the sail. And this was a terrifying experience for him. And we repeated the process as for his time in the subway. What did you feel? What did you need to express that you couldn't express back then? And I helped him to re-presence the scene, to scream the rage he had for his mother, who was nearby and couldn't help it, for no fault of her own, of course. She was just hadn't witnessed it and wasn't aware that it was happening. But still he had the rage there, and it's important for him to express that and get it out. He needed to bang the sail and get out, but he didn't have the strength to, so we had him push the sail out, get angry with the sail, and release that from his system. And over a few sessions, we were able to release the repressed feelings and repressed pain from that early experience. And then with this same technique of probing, we discovered another incident a bit later in his childhood where he'd been swimming with friends and was doing a roly-poly game underwater and got into similar difficulty. Again, had a terrifying experience where he was scared of drowning. We worked through that experience, helped him to release it, and over time, in working with him in this way, over not very many sessions, he was able to get to the place where he'd resolved much, if not all, of the source pain, the source trauma that was causing him to have these panic attacks. And the way that repressed trauma works is it didn't matter that if in his present day situation he was not underwater, but just in a situation that was somehow symbolic, resonant with those earlier experiences, he would still have the feelings come up from the unprocessed trauma. Now, for you, it may be that simply learning to name the feelings and tune into your sensations during panic attacks or anxiety attacks gives you a huge amount of relief. It could be that it makes sense for you, with the help of a therapist or coach or somebody you trust, to regress into those earlier traumas, express the pain, release it from the system. And you may well find that you get the same level of relief as Andrew. So to recap, learn to name your feelings, learn to tune into your sensations. If it makes sense, do the self-archaeology, do the probing into any earlier events that may be the source of what you're experiencing in the present day. And do let me know what you think of this, any experience you have, in the comments below.